What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to a brand new video on the channel, and welcome to some Forza Horizon 5 for today's video. And I'm going to take a look at the brand new car that they've added into the game. This is the Porsche Taycan Turbo S Cross Turismo, long ass name, but it's a very, very weird and interesting car. Now, why is this interesting? Why, Miai, right? I know you got what you guys are thinking. Yes, Miai, right? I know you're so intelligent and your mind is so big, and so is your knowledge of cars, and basically I feel like you've hated EVs, right? That's what you guys may be saying to me right now. I feel like you hate EVs. Why do you think this car is interesting? But then you drove the Ioniq 5N a few weeks ago and you were like, this is a crap car. Why would you find this car interesting over the Ioniq 5N? Well, let me tell you, curious subscriber of mine and curious viewer, this thing is interesting because it's different, right? Why is it different? Well, first of all, it's an estate, right? Not even just an estate, it's a lifted, right? It's a lifted, somewhat it's not even a crossover, it's like a cross between an estate and an off-roader, making this thing the Cross Turismo. I love this car. I think it's such a cool car. I think estate cars like this, as an EV, pretty interesting. Very, very interesting. There is a Sport Turismo, I'm pretty sure it's what it's called now, where you don't have like the whole, you know, arches and everything, and it's not lifted. But this is like the modern equivalent of like an Audi Allroad or a Volvo XC70, something like that. But the super incredibly modern alternative to those by being all fully EV. And I think it's an interesting car. I think it is an interesting car for them to add into the game. And as a person that likes Porsche and I like what they're doing, I think this is an interesting car for them to add into the game. And I would 100% buy one of these, for example, a used car, right? Let me preface this by saying this thing, right? Let's say not a Turbo S, just a normal Taycan Cross Turismo. I would rather buy a used Taycan Cross Turismo than a brand new Hyundai Ioniq 5N, right? In real life, I would rather do that because they are the exact same price. If you buy a brand new one of these, it'll cost like about 130 grand or something like that in Ireland. If you buy a brand new Hyundai Ioniq 5N, it's about 80 grand. If you buy one of these things that is like 2 years old, you're gonna buy it for about 80 grand, which is the same price as the Hyundai Ioniq 5N. So I would rather own one of these. I mean, what person would rather go out and buy the Hyundai over a Porsche? Right? What? Like, I just don't understand why you would end up doing that. I know I'm comparing these two, but these are the two cars that they've added into the game most recently. That's why that's why I'm comparing both of these two cars, right? I know there are going to be some people out there. They're going to be like, yeah, Porsche's boring, whatever. That's perfectly fine. You can have your own opinion. See, the thing is, though, when I upload these videos and I give my opinion on cars and my opinion on things that I like and I dislike, I don't expect everyone else to be jumping on board with me and being like, yes, you're so right, you know, licking my arse, basically saying that I'm the only person that's correct. You're allowed to have your own opinions, and it's perfectly fine to have your own opinions. But if you get pissed off at someone else's opinions, it's just funny because people will start arguing with me in the comments of the videos, like basically trying to come up my neck because I have a different opinion than them. People don't understand how opinions work, apparently. Regardless, I like this Porsche. I think it's very, very cool. I think the Sport Turismo is just a little bit better. I'm not a big fan of the whole off-roady bit. That's why I think the Sport Turismo, which is just the regular estate, so not the lifted, but the regular version of the Taycan, but as an estate like this, I think it's cooler. But I do still see the appeal of this thing, and I do kind of like it. It's super interesting, especially when you sit on the road. Plus, I'm a fan of estate cars, man. I want estate cars over SUVs. I think they're just so much cooler and so much more, like, they're just practical. They aren't as big and they aren't as heavy as your SUVs, so they'll be better on fuel economy or electric range. It's just better overall because the doors aren't as big. It doesn't go up as high. Like, there's less metal being used. It's lighter overall than an SUV. So that's why I kind of like estate cars like this. And the Taycan is the newest one that's been added into the game. I feel like I've done a lot of waffle without me actually driving this thing, but I feel like I've had to kind of explain myself a little bit. And it's still nighttime. That's the only other reason why I haven't driven this thing, is that it's still nighttime outside. I mean, it's not particularly fast. Right now, it's at A800 maxed out. I mean, it's not a particularly fast car. I don't expect it to be a particularly fast car. How much power is this thing pushing? So 750 horsepower, 1050 newton meters of torque, and it weighs 2358 kilos, which is heavy, but then again, it's very much expected from an EV such as this. It isn't too bad though to drive. It does slip a little bit. You can see it kind of understeering slightly every now and then. I hope there's like stuff that we can do to this thing. It's got 2 forward gears. Top speed of this thing about 173 miles an hour, 172, 173, something about there. So it's not really that slow. I think you can kind of turn it in pretty nicely. It doesn't actually feel like it weighs over 2 tons. It does lean a little bit though. It does have slightly lifted suspension, so that's probably why. You see, this isn't as sporty as like your regular Taycan. But that lean of the suspension, as you can see, kind of helps to turn into corners a little nicer. I feel like it presses down on the tires just a little better. And it seems like it does a decent job. I mean, don't expect this thing to do anything crazy, but right now, with the way this thing is set up, I actually kind of want to do a lap with this thing completely stock, just to see what we're looking at. So A800 is obviously a very weird place to be, because you can get cars that are super quick, and you can get them to do really well. I kind of want to go on a track. See, I want to go on like on a small track, but at the same time, I kind of want to go on a track that I can do some stuff on. Go on this track. What's in A class? What is in A class that's decent on this track? I can't remember. What did I use? To Lotus Emira, KDM. So these are all super lightweight cars on this thing. But I want to try and have a little bit of a go with this car just to see what it's capable of. Completely stock, because it's at the top of a class, right? And it does have 750 horsepower and over 1,000 newton meters of torque. So even though I'm on stock tires right now, which I'm pretty sure by the looks of them that they're sports tires, just from the way they look. Can't tell if they're actual street tires or sports tires. But they do seem quite grippy. Again, it's not going to be overly grippy around some of these corners, but I think how quickly it can accelerate out of corners is pretty decent. And again, I think at higher speeds, it's able to do quite well. I think the only reason why this car is at the top of A-Class right now... Oh my god, my roof is cracked because the entirety of my roof is just glass. I crashed into the wall and I cracked my roof. How often can you say that? The 2-speed is a little bit weird, though, to get used to. It's also fully electric. So it makes it a very strange feeling. The whole leaning aspect of this thing, I probably should have taken this thing off-road, to be honest. Or I should try build this thing for off-roading. But the whole leaning on the tires and leaning on the suspension is actually quite interesting with this car, because it does actually make it try to grip a little bit better. That first corner, though, you can see how much it, like, kind of understeers through it. I need to go quite a lot slower. Again, I'm trying to keep up the same speed that I am in the Lotus, and it's just not working. Obviously, I'm not able to do the same things that the Lotus is doing, because the Lotus is very much lightweight. I think it weighs less than half of this. As you can see, because of the power of this thing, I can kind of catch up to the Lotus. But I just want to take a quick little look at what this thing is like stock, since this thing is basically at the top of A-Class. And I wanted to see what it was like. But I'm actually quite impressed by a 2.3 ton beast like this to be able to actually corner and do alright in it. Then again, it is a Porsche, so Porsche is obviously very famous for their handling. Even if it is electric or not. Big smash into the wall. Yeah, it does show its weight a little bit. You can see how it gets thrown around so much because of its weight. Okay. Let's start doing stuff to this thing. Let's see if I'm able to actually change a bunch of things on this car and actually do things to it that are gonna improve it in so much shape or form. We also have to see what kind of stuff we can do to it. Can we put drift suspension on it? Can we put race suspension on it? Can we motor swap this thing? What can we really do to this thing? We can motor swap it. Interesting. We can upgrade the standard motor as well in this car to 975 horsepower, which is mental. And we can also motor swap this thing to the Rimac motor. Jesus. I'm gonna do it. And I'm gonna turn this thing into an off-road monster, I think. We can have drift suspension as well, so we can fully lower this thing. I think off-roading this thing would probably be a good idea. I really want to see what it's like. It does have the ground clearance and everything, so I'm very interested to see what this thing is going to be like if we do it. The thing is, though, we can't actually adjust or we can't change any of the... We can't change any of the actual gears for this thing. So that's a big issue with a lot of these cars. A lot of these EVs. Because of the fact that back in the day they made a massive mistake by allowing us to change gears on a car. And then instead of them actually bringing back the gears for the cars and fixing the issue that they had with the Taycan Racer, I think is what it was called. And instead of fixing that issue, what they ended up doing is they ended up just fully removing the actual gears from EVs. So you cannot actually change you can't change the transmission. You can't have gears on an EV. So very strange. Trying to put some wheels on this thing. I mean, if we're turning this thing into a rally car, we could probably pick some rally. Oh no, those wheels are very heavy. Sure, we'll just put these on. It doesn't really make too much of a difference. I'm gonna just build this thing. I just want to build this thing just so we can see if it's good or not when it's off-roading. I feel like this is gonna have so much power now it's gonna be undrivable. But I really still want to try it and see if it's possible to do anything to it. But this is also a 2-speed, so it could be a little bit more interesting. I mean, top speed of this is gonna be ridiculous anyway. I do have aero in it, so I don't think it's gonna be that crazy. Right. What about paints for this thing? What other colors does it come in? Red, not that great of a fan. It's like baby blue, it's very weird. White, silver, and then we have this blue. Colors, very typical, boring. Well, not boring, but like very typical, like regular colors. Silver, black, white, and blue and red. It's like some of the most popular colors that you can get pretty much any German car in. I kind of want to paint this thing silver, just because then you can see all the off-roady bits on it. all the weird like wide body panels and everything, and the little front bumper and rear bumper and stuff like that. It just looks funny. It just reminds me so much of the Audi Allroads and Volvo XC70s and all tracks from VW. This is powerful. The fact that we can have drift suspension on it as well is ridiculous. I mean, it does pick up and go. It is at the top of S1. Pretty much at the top of S1. Brakes are really good. Driving on the actual road itself still leans quite a bit. I mean, these off-road tires don't really help it too much. Oh man, off-road has... Oh my god! Off-road has some good grip, I'm not gonna lie. Alright, let's test it out. Let's see. It's been a while since I went on the Estadio Cross Country circuit, so let's go over here. I don't know where I am in the world anymore. I feel like I've done... Yeah, the Bone Shaker is still insanely OP. I don't think I'm going to be able to get close to the Bone Shaker, but I'm going to select whoever my next rival is, which is pretty much got the exact same time as me. I don't think I'm going to be able to beat the Bone Shaker, like I said, but... I'm going to try. I'm going to try to see what this thing is capable of. The Estadio circuit is a track that I used to test cars out on all the time, just because it's really short. And obviously you have maybe like a couple of corners of regular off-road driving. And then also you have a little bit of on-road driving as well, because it's a cross-country. So it has some jumps as well, so it's a very weird and interesting track to drive on. But at the same time, it's not really the perfect track if you want to test cars out on. But I only used to do it here because I remember the track being really, really short. Suspension feels a little stiff, even though it's not. I definitely made it very, very soft. Definitely made it very, very soft, yet the suspension feels a little stiff. It feels like I'm... Man, the brakes of this thing are so good. Let's try this run now with a bit of a run up here. Has way too much power. Like, I can't accelerate for some of the corners. Like here, I need to like literally lift off fully. Maybe the Stadio Circuit is not a great track to test cars out on. Believe it or not. It's a pretty bad track to test cars out on, but it's still an interesting one. I also made my gear ratios way too long. Oh my god. I'm also going full pelt when I need to hit that jump, so I need to also be careful there. Oh god. Maybe cross country is not the way to go. It doesn't really like the jumps. I feel like any sort of bumps, it just throws this car off a little bit too much. Even though I wanted to build this thing for off-roading, since it's basically like a little off-road car, kind of. I don't think it is very, very good at that. So maybe you could try build this thing for drifting or something, since it's got drift suspension. Something that a lot of the cars in this game, especially a lot of the newer cars in this game, they just seem to lack. I don't know why they just started to take them out of the cars. They just don't, you know, don't put them in anymore. I don't think the Hyundai had it, or I don't think some of the other cars that they've introduced recently had drift suspension. I remember the GR Yaris did. So 51.3 is clean-ish lap with this thing, which is very slow. It's like 4.5 seconds, isn't it? 4.4 seconds slower than what my rival time was. So it's not particularly fast as cross country. It has a lot of power though. I feel like I'm limiting myself, especially doing it on this track. I'm limiting myself fully. Alright, let me put on some drift suspension on it and actually try to see if I can enjoy this car as a drift car. I'm gonna keep the same amount of power, and I'm also gonna keep it all-wheel drive, so just kind of an all-wheel drive drift build, if that makes sense. Apart from that, I'm not gonna really change anything else. So, drift suspension going on, tires being changed. It actually looks quite good when it's lowered. I'm also gonna get rid of that disgusting wing in the front air because it just looks vile. It is awful to look at. This looks pretty mad actually once it's lowered. They put on some interesting wheels on it as well. I know it's Porsche, but what kind of wheels can we slap on a Porsche? Some ADV1s, some HREs. Alright, I'm kind of happy with these. I put some Vorsteiners on it. We're at 295s for the front. Should we just go slightly smaller? We'll do like 275s or something. I'm gonna go with the stock tire setup because these wheels are really, really wide anyway. Alright, cool. Let's try it like this. See what it's like. I didn't even press the launch control. What's it doing it? Oh my god. Oh man, this is why cars need to have drift suspension in this game. Let us do this with the cars. Oh my god. Well, not only does it have the power, But it also has the angle. I can keep some serious angle with this thing. Interesting. I'm gonna go back to sim steering though, this time around. I don't know if my gear ratios are good enough, but let's try to do a run down the hill with this thing. Let's see what it's like. Just for fun. That is ridiculous. Most of the power I've sent to the rear wheels, not all of it, but quite a lot of it. Jesus. Yeah, my gear ratios are not set properly, but still able to do bits. I definitely short my gear ratios, man. I want to use second for everything. It's so... every time I'm drifting like an EV, it's just such a strange feeling. There's no, like, revs, there's none of that. You just kind of accelerate, wait for the wheels to kind of spin up a little bit, and then just chill out, you know? Use handbrake to extend slides, stuff like that. Then you also remember that this thing almost has 2,000 horsepower. So it's able to do stuff like this with ease. This car's fun. This car is really, really fun. Oh my god. Oh, I messed up. That is a big old mistake from my part. Yeah, gears need work though. 100%. Let me just shorten them a little bit. Let's just do that. There, I'm just gonna do that. Easy. Instead of waffling on about it, why not just do it? At least I have for the rest of the run. Oh my god, the angle I can hold. What? This thing's stupid. Why is it so good at sliding around like this? Oh, I completely forgot to do the weight reduction as well. So this isn't like fully light, right? So I got rid of it a little bit to try and bring it down into the S1 class, didn't I? That's one thing I completely forgot to do to this. So I think we can get this thing to be even better handling by putting the next stage weight reduction on it. It's so responsive, man. It's so easy to, like, not spin out. Like, I'm trying to push this thing to its limits to try and see if I can get it to spin out, and it's just not doing it. I increase the angle, and it's just fine. You just catch it again. I genuinely think this car is possible of pulling 1.3 mil. Well, with a good player anyway. That's driving. 1.2 mil is definitely possible if I just drive better. Interesting. Actually, maybe not 1.3. I don't know if it's capable of pulling 1.3, but 1.2, like, I could probably beat my PB with this car. That's how good it is. Interesting. And that was just to show you that I'm not actually waffling. 1.21 million points. I'm so close to almost beating my personal best on this track. I wanted to change as well the tires to now drag slicks. and I've slapped a little bit of a tune onto this thing. So even with my own tune, my crappy tune, right? I'm not that great of it. I am a good tuner in this game, but I'm not like, you know, like the same as the really, really OP guys, the guys that always go for leaderboards. Like obviously those guys are much more impressive when it comes to creating tunes for these things. But I guarantee you that this car is now considered as being a seriously competitive drift car. A very, very good drift car. Due to the amount of angle and stuff that this thing is capable of putting out. And the thing is though, like I said, even with my dodgy tune that's on it now, I'm able to almost beat my PB. That's ridiculous. That is really, really good. And again, like I said, it's not something that I really expected from this Taycan, but because it can hold such serious angle and you can kind of save it from like ridiculous, like I mean, I'm genuinely going into corners backwards and I'm still able to come out like fine. It's a seriously good drift car. Try this thing out for yourselves. Let me know what you think of it. If you've created any sort of tunes for this car, maybe for racing or something like that, send them over on my Discord. Link to that is down below. But this is a super capable car. Really, really good. Alright, I'm gonna end the video here. Thank you for watching, everybody. I hope you enjoyed it. I just wanted to show you that I wasn't full of shit when I was saying that this car could genuinely beat my PB on the thing. I mean, like, I can get really close to it. And that was with only one attempt after switching my tune-up. So, could you imagine if I just go and keep going over and over again? I'll probably find some place to improve on and beat my PB on it. So, again, it's a really sick car. Very good for drifting. It may be good for something else as well, but for now, for today's video, that's pretty much it. Alright, I'll see you guys later. Goodbye, everyone.